Good morning, student. This is your eighth lecture of petroleum refinery and petrochemicals. So, in this lecture, we will discuss the coking and the thermal processes. The coking and thermal processes which involved in the petroleum refinery. Okay. So, as we know that the bottom of the barrel is the bottom of the barrel which has become more of a problem for refineries because heavier crudes are being processed from the bottom of the barrel. Heavier crudes are being processed and the market of heavy residual fuel oils has been decreasing. So historically, the heavy residual fuel has been burned to produce electric power and to supply the energy needs of heavy industry. But more severe environment restriction have caused many of these users to switch to natural gas. Okay. Now, thus, when more heavy residuals are in the crude, there is more difficulty in economically disposing of them. So, whenever there is a heavy residuals in the crude, so there is more difficulty in economically disposing of them. So, coking units convert heavy feedstocks into solid coke. So coking unit convert heavy feedstocks into a solid coke and lowering boiling hydrocarbon products, okay, which is suitable as a feedstock to other refinery units for conversion into higher value transportation fuels. So for a chemical reaction viewpoint, coking can be considered as a severe thermal cracking process. So coking can be considered as a severe thermal cracking process in which one of the end product is carbon, that is coke. Actually, this coke formed contains some volatile matter or highly boiling hydrocarbons. Okay. So here we will discuss the coking process and what are the types and properties of the cokes, and the different types of cooking process, that is delayed cooking, fluid cooking, flexi cooking. Okay. So first we have to know what is the conversion. How means how on means how this cooking process is important uh, for this refinery. So the decreased use of kerosene lamps. So as we know that the Thomas Edison uh, invent the light, and whenever there is a invention of the light, there is a decrease of use of the kerosene lamps, which coupled with rising demand for automobile gasoline, which provided incentives to convert kerosene and other heavier fractions into gasoline. So here we can see one table which illustrates the fundamental principle behind this conversion. As we see that more the molecular weight, more the molecular weight means more the carbon and hydrogen molecules, and less the hydrogen to carbon ratio, and more as the molecular weight is increasing, so the boiling point is also increasing. So here we can see that paraffin, first simple compound is a methane, which is CH4 having molecular weight 16.06 and having the hydrogen carbon ratio 4 and the boiling point minus 164. So as we increase the molecular weight from methane to ethane, ethane to propane, propane then isobutane, the isooctane, normal cetane, we are getting molecular weight 2 to 6.44, and which are having the formula C16 and H34, 16 carbon and 34 hydrogen, and having the hydrogen to carbon ratio is 2.13. So hydrogen carbon ratio is decreasing and the boiling point is increasing. So it is increasing from the methane to cetane is minus 164 to 287 degrees centigrade. Now for the aromatic also, the benzene having 78.11 molecular weight, which are having the formula C6H6, and for the benzopyrene, which are having the molecular weight 252.32, which formula is C20H12, and hydrogen carbon ratio 0.6. So this one having the boiling point is greater than 218 degree centigrade. So as we increase the molecular weight, there is a increase of boiling point and decrease of hydrogen carbon ratio. So for a given class of hydrocarbons, lighter means lower molecular weight. Okay, so the lighter hydrocarbon means lower molecular weight and lower boiling point, lower density, and higher hydrogen to carbon ratio. Okay, so the lighter hydrocarbon means lower molecular weight, lower boiling point, lower density, but higher hydrogen to carbon ratio. Then hydrogen or carbon ratio of commonly used crude oil ranges from 1.5 to 2, and hydrogen carbon for asphaltene is 1.15. So most of the conversion process, that is FCC, the fluid catalytic cracking, thermal cracking, and deasphalting, increases the hydrogen to carbon by rejection of carbon. Okay, increases hydrogen to carbon ratio by rejection of carbon. So this conversion process helps to increase the hydrogen to carbon ratio by rejecting the carbon, that is the fluid catalytic cracking, thermal cracking, and deasphalting process. Next, the few process like hydrotreating to a small extent and hydrocracking to a great extent, which also helps to increase the hydrogen carbon ratio by adding hydrogen. Okay, so FCC, thermal cracking, and deasphalting helps to increase hydrogen carbon ratio by rejecting carbon, and hydrotreating to small extent and hydrocracking to great extent also helps to increase the hydrogen carbon ratio by adding hydrogen. So in this context, rejection of carbon does not mean that a little bit of carbon is removed from every molecule. Okay, so rejecting carbon does not mean the little bit of carbon is removed from every molecule. Rather, it means the heavy molecules are split or cracked into smaller molecule with higher hydrogen carbon ratio. Okay, so heavy molecules are split or cracked into smaller molecule with a higher hydrogen to carbon ratio, and another smaller molecule with a lower hydrogen to carbon ratio. So molecules with low hydrogen to carbon ratio, that is polyaromatic hydrocarbons, PAH, can condense to form the coke. So here we can see that there is a N-butyl naphthalene. In-butyl naphthalene, when we add the hydrogen with this C14H16, so it has become C22H16. So dimethyl benzopyrene. Okay, so dimethyl benzopyrene, which is a coke precursor plus the propane. So when there is a means n-butyl naphthalene is added with the hydrogen, it can produce the coke precursor, which is C22H16 plus C3H8, which is propane. Okay, so here we can see the condensation reaction releases the hydrogen, lowering hydrogen to carbon even more. So this is the reaction shows here, the sum of a condensation reaction with generation of hydrogen and dealkylation, which consumes hydrogen. So thermal process. So when a hydrocarbon is heated to a sufficiently high temperature, the thermal cracking occurs. Okay, so whenever there is a thermal cracking, So there is a hydrocarbon which is need to be heated to a sufficiently high temperature. Okay, sometimes when it is a very high temperature, so then it is called the pyrolysis, especially when the coal is used as a feedstock. For the case of pyrolysis, especially the coal is used as a feedstock, and when steam is used for this thermal cracking process, it is called the steam cracking process. Okay, so we will examine two thermal process here. First one is coking and second one is vis breaking. Now what is coking? So coking is severe thermal cracking process which is carried out to convert heavy fractions into solid coke and lighter hydrocarbons. Okay, so coking is nothing but a thermal cracking process which carried out to convert heavy fractions into solid coke and lighter hydrocarbons. So coking is typically employed for treating mostly vacuum residues to prepare feed for the catalytic cracking or hydrocracking units. Okay, so coking is typically employed for treating mostly vacuum residues to prepare feed for the catalytic cracking or the hydrocracking units, and thereby decreasing the amount of low priced heavy fuel oils. And this coking produces straight run gasoline or coker naphtha. Okay, this coking produces straight run gasoline which is coker naphtha and various middle distillate fraction used as a catalytic cracking feedstock. Various middle distillate fraction which is used again in the catalytic cracking feedstocks, and this process completely reduces hydrogen. So this coking process completely reduces hydrogen so that the residue is a form of carbon which is called coke. Okay, so this process, the coking process, reduces the hydrogen so that the residue is in form of coke, and the deposited coke contains most of the asphaltenes, sulfur, metals. Okay, the deposited coke contains asphaltene, sulfur and metals which is present in the feed, and the products are unsaturated gases, that is olefins, and the products are unsaturated gases, that is olefins, and highly aromatic liquids. So there are typically three types of cokes which are obtained. First one is a sponge coke, second one needle coke, and third one short coke. These are the three types of coke obtained depending upon the reaction mechanism, time, temperature, and the crude feedstocks. So these parameters helps to obtain the different types of coke formation. First one is a reaction mechanism, time, temperature, and the crude feedstock. These will help to obtain the different types of coke: sponge coke, needle coke, and the short coke. So this is the classification of coke. uh, Coke can account for up to 30 weight% of the product. Coke can account for up to 30 weight% of the product. So it can be shipped by rail, truck, or conveyor belt to a calciner, while which converts green coke fresh from the drum into various grades of petroleum coke. So whatever the coke is formed, that is a 30 weight% of the product, it can shipped by rail track or the conveyor belt to the calciner unit, where it converts green coke fresh from drum into various grades of petroleum coke. So this green coke can also be used for fuel. Okay, so this is the picture of the sponge cake. This sponge cake is named for its sponge like appearance. So its appearance is like a sponge like. Okay, so this sponge like derived from a petroleum feedstock that shows the abundant pore structure. Here we can see there is a abundant pore structure. Okay, uh, this is the macroscopic picture of this sponge coke, which is in 50 micrometer, uh, means where we can see there is abundant pore structure in this sponge coke, which is derived from the petroleum feedstocks. And this flows texture in the coke cell walls. This is the flow texture in the coke cell walls. So this coke produced from the feeds that have low to moderate asphaltenes concentration. So it is produced from feeds that have low to moderate asphaltene concentration, and if the sponge coke meets certain specifications, it can be used to make carbon anodes. So if the sponge coke meets certain specification, it can be used to make carbon anodes for the aluminum industry, and otherwise it is used for the fuel. Green sponge coke must be calcined before it can be used for anodes, and fuel coke may not require calcination process. Okay, so this sponge coke is named for its sponge like appearance. So we can see here there are lots of pore structure in this sponge coke. And then needle coke, this needle coke named for its needle like structure. Here we can see means in the macroscopic view, uh, the structure is like needle of this needle coke. So it is made from feeds that contain Neal asphaltenes such as hydrotreated fluid catalytic cracking decant oils. So this needle coke is a high value product which is used to make graphite electrodes for electric arc furnaces in the steel industry. So this needle coke is a high value product which is used to graphite electrodes for electric arc furnaces in the steel industry. Now at present this needle coke fetches more than 500 US dollar per ton, which is significantly greater than the 40 to 45 US dollar per ton price for metallurgical coke exported from the United States. So this typical needle coke derived from a petroleum feedstocks, and the parallel layers and linear fractures are distinctive and provide slip planes to relieve stress in the coke. So here we can see the parallel layers, there is a parallel layers and linear fractures, and there is a linear fractures. Okay, so this distinctive structure provides the slip planes to relieve the stress in the coke. And then the shortcake, this shortcake is undesirable product because it is inconsistent, and in some cases it is very dangerous. Okay, so this shortcake is produced when the concentration of the feedstock asphaltenes or coke drum temperatures are too high. Okay, means this coke, short coke, is produced when the concentration of feedstock is asphaltenes, which is very heavier one, or the coke drum temperature are too high. So the excessive feedstocks oxygen content can also induce its formation. So excessive feedstock oxygen content can also induce its formation, and this short coke begins to form as the oil flows into the coke drum. So this short coke begins to form as the oil flows into the coke drum, and as the light ends flash away, the small globules of heavy tar are left behind. As the light ends flash away, small globules of heavy tar are left behind, and these globules of tar coke rapidly grow due to the heat produced by asphaltene polymerization. Okay, so these globules of tar coke rapidly grow due to the heat produced by asphaltene polymerization and producing discrete mini balls. Here we can see it produces a discrete mini balls having 0.1 to 0.2 inches or the 2 to 5 in diameter, and in the center of the drum the mini balls can stick together to form cluster as large as 10 inches. Okay, so this short coke are like a globule structure of tar, which is formed by polymerization of asphaltenes and producing the discrete mini balls having zero point 0.1 to 0.2 inches in diameter, and in the center of the drum the mini balls can stick together to form cluster as large as 10 inches. And this short coke, on occasion a cluster breaks, the means whatever the cluster is formed here, we can see the cluster is formed. So this cluster breaks apart when the coke drum is opened. When this coke drum is opened, this cluster breaks apart and spraying a volley of hot mini balls in every direction. Okay, and adding aromatic feeds such as FCC decant oil can eliminate short coke formation. If we add aromatic feeds such as FCC decant oil, which can helps to eliminate the short coke formation. Okay, and the other methods of eliminating short coke is decreasing temperature. Decreasing temperature, increasing drum pressure, or the increasing the amount of product recycle, and decrease the liquid yields, which is not desired. So what are the methods to eliminate the short coke? If we can decrease the temperature, and if we increase the drum pressure and increase the amount of product recycle, so it can eliminate the short coke, but it decrease the liquid yields, which is not desired. So as there is a quantitative measure of the quality of coke is the coefficient of thermal expansion. Okay, so quantitative measure of the quality of coke is the coefficient of thermal expansion, which is denoted as CTE, coefficient of thermal expansion. So a low CTE means that the product has low tendency to expand when heated. So low coefficient of thermal expansion means that the product has a low tendency to expand when heated. So here we can see some the coefficients of thermal expansion of petroleum coke products. There is a needle coke, sponge coke, and the short coke. So the needle coke having this CTE value 0 to 4, and sponge coke having 8 to 18, and the short coke having greater than 20 centimeter per centimeter degree centigrade into 10 to the minus 7, which is its unit CTE. So as we see, the short coke having a greater tendency to expand when it heated. So as we have discussed earlier, that when this uh, coke drum is opened, the cluster breaks apart and the spraying a volley of hot mini balls in every direction because of having a high CTE value, which tendency to expand when heated. So this short coke cannot be used in making anodes for aluminum production because the outer layer of short sphere has a very low CTE, while the inside has a very high CTE. So outer layer of the short sphere has a very low CTE, low coefficient of thermal expansion, and inside it is having the high CTE value. When rapidly heated, the interior expands. When this short coke rapidly heated, the interior expands and the cracking the outer layer like an eggshell because of having the low CTE in the outer layer. Okay, because of having the low CTE in the outer layer, when it rapidly heated, the interior expands and the cracking of the outer layer like a eggshell. So consequently, in aluminium smelters, short coke anodes quickly turn to dust. So in aluminium smelters, these short coke anodes quickly turn into dust. So other specialty carbon products made from petroleum include recarburizer coke, which is used to make especially steel and titanium dioxide coke, and which is also used as a reducing agent in the titanium dioxide pigment industry. Okay. Now, what are the applications of this petroleum coke? And this coke may be used as a fuel and to make anodes for the electrolytic cells, to manufacture the graphite, and in the production of some chemicals. So these petroleum coke are having applications in fuel, to make the anodes for the electrolytic cells, to manufacture the graphite, and in the production of some chemicals. So this petroleum coke is different from coal. Okay, so this petroleum coke is different from coke from coal and not suitable for metallurgical processing. Okay, and this is not suitable for metallurgical processing. So this coking process, where the feed for this coking process is usually the vacuum residue. So feed is for the cooking process is usually vacuum residue. However, FCC residue and visbreaker residue may also be subjected to a cooking process. Mainly the feed is vacuum residue, but sometimes the FCC fluid catalytic cracking residue and the visbreaker residue may also be subjected for this cooking process. And the products of a coker are typically light gases. The products of a coker are typically light gases. The example is unsaturated C12C4 and isobutane, coker naphtha, which may be sent reforming or sent directly to the gasoline blending unit, and the light or and heavy gas oils. Okay, so the products of coker are typically light gases. Products of a coker are typically light gases. Example is unsaturated C1 to C4 and isobutane, coker naphtha. This coker naphtha may be sent to the reforming or sent to directly to the gasoline blending unit, and then the light and heavy gas oils. So this light gas oil may be blended with kerosene. These light gas oils may be blended with kerosene. Okay. Now here we can see that this reaction of the N-butyl naphthalene is means after condensation reaction, the sum of this condensation reaction with the hydrogen, which helps to generate the hydrogen and dealkylation, which consumes hydrogen. Okay, so N-butyl naphthalene along with that hydrogen produce the coke precursor, which is the dimethyl benzopyrene and the propane. Okay, which helps to generate the hydrogen and dealkylation, which also consumes hydrogen. And this is the procedure of the coke formation. First it is saturates with heat. Means whenever we are applying the heat in the saturates uh, means the feed, we can get the saturates with unsaturated and light gas. Again, when we heat in the unsaturated and the light gas, we get the unsaturated free radicals. So from these unsaturated free radicals, there is a two type. One is for the lower boiling unsaturates and the gas, and another is aromatics plus lower unsaturates and gas. Okay, so from these unsaturated free radicals, we have lower boiling unsaturated and gas, and another is aromatics plus lower unsaturated and gas. Okay, then we have this aromatics and lower unsaturated and gas. Then if we heat this aromatics, so we have two part. First one is lower boiling aromatics plus unsaturated and gas. Second one is aromatic free radicals plus unsaturated and gas. And again we condensing the aromatic free radicals, we can get the high boiling aromatics, and from this high boiling aromatics we can get this coke. Okay, so resins and asphaltenes, after heated these resins and asphaltenes, there is a form of coke plus low boiling aromatics plus unsaturates and gas. Okay, So heavier one means the vacuum residue, the resins and the asphaltenes, after heating, after a very high temperature heating, there is a formation of coke plus lower boiling aromatics plus unsaturates and gas. So this is also the dehydrogenation of methyl cyclohexane leading to coke formation. So this is also the dehydrogenation of methyl cyclohexane, which leads also for coke formation. So here we can see there is a methyl cyclohexane. After cracking it, uh, means it produce the coke, and after a demethylation with hydrogen, so there is a production of the cyclohexane, and then means after releasing some hydrogen there is also a cyclohexane, then again if release the hydrogen there is a restructure of the cyclohexadiene, and then after also releasing the hydrogen we can get the benzene. Okay, so this is the reversible reaction, cyclohexane to benzene. This is the reversible reaction. So this is done by the hydrodemethylation with hydrogen, and then there is a isomerization of methyl cyclohexane. So in this isomerization, here we can see there is a uh, ethyl cyclopentane, from where after releasing the hydrogen we can see the steps, means after means first dimethyl cyclopentenes, releasing the hydrogen, then the restructuring it, we can have also dimethyl naphthalines and the ethyl naphthalines, and then these ethyl naphthalines after poly condensation and the poly aromatization of this dimethyl cyclopentenes and the uh, ethyl cyclopentenes, we can have this coke. Okay, so isomerization of the methyl cyclohexane also produced by polyaromatization and the polykondensation, the coke. Okay, so the coke is formed after the isomerization of the methyl cyclohexane by following the polyaromatization and the polykondensation process. And then again we have this 4 methyl cyclohexane and the methyl cyclohexane, then toluene. This toluene with hydro demethylation with hydrogen, it produces the benzene. Okay, so this from this toluene again, we if we condensation reactions is takes place, so after this polycondensation again there is a formation of coke, and this toluene from this disproportions of the benzene, they plus the xylene isomers, and then again we have this condensation of this toluene, and after the polycondensation also there is a formation of coke. So cracking, hydrodemethylation with hydrogen, isomerization, hydrodemethylation with hydrogen, disproportion reaction, condensation, polykondensation, polyaromatization, polycondensation, these all reactions helps to form the coke, which is the dehydrogenation dehydrogenation of methyl cyclohexane dehydrogenation of methyl cyclohexane, which helps to produce the coke formation. Now there is a different types of cooking process. uh, First one, it is a delayed cooking. So this delayed cooking is the most widely used process to carry out a cooking operation. So this delayed cooking is most widely used process to carry out a cooking operation, which is a high velocity of oil. A high velocity of oil in the furnace tubes prevents significant cooking in the furnace even above the cooking conditions. So sufficient time is then given in the coke drums for cooking reactions to take takes place. As there is a sufficient time is given in the coke drums for coking reactions, that is why this process is called the delayed coking. So we are providing more sufficient time to for the cooking reactions. That is why it is called the delayed cooking. Next is the fluid cooking. Fluid cooking is also a continuous process compared to the delayed cooking. And flexi cooking is also uses fluid cooking process, but as gasification reactor is also there. For the flexi cooking, along with the fluid cooking process, there is a gasification reactor present. So these are the three types of cooking: delayed cooking, fluid cooking, and the flexi cooking. Now delayed cooking. In this delayed cooking, steam is injected in the furnace to inhibit the coke formation. Steam is injected in the furnace to inhibit the coke formation, and feed is heated higher than 900 degree Fahrenheit or the 482 degree centigrade, and a vapor liquid mixture leaving the furnace flows to the cooking drum. So feed is heated higher than 482 degree centigrade, and a vapor liquid mixture leaving the furnace flows to the cooking drum, and this cooking reactions takes place in the drum, and the vapors issuing from the cooking drum are quenched in the fractionators by liquid feed to prevent further cooking. So cooking reactions takes place in the drum, and the vapors issuing from the cooking drum are quenched in the fractionator by the liquid feed to prevent further cooking. So moreover, it simultaneously condenses a part of heavy ends which are then recycled. So delayed cooking, what in the delayed cooking, what is the effect of pressure? So if you increase the pressure, it will increase the coke formation. If we increase the pressure, it will increase the coke formation and slightly increase gas yields. So however, refinery economics require operating at minimum coke formation. However, this refinery economics require operating at minimum coke formation. So new units are built to work at 1 bar gauge or 15 psig, while existing units work at 2.4 bar gauge or 35 psig. In the case of production of needle coke, a pressure of 150 psig is required. So for the production of needle coke, there is a requirement of the pressure near about 150 psig. So more the pressure will provide, there is a tendency to formation of more coke and slightly increase the gas yield. Okay, but we require for the refinery economics, we require to optimize or to minimize the coke formation, so that this coke will not affect on the catalyst, which will hamper the reaction process. This is the schematic of this delayed cooking process, where we can see there is a two coke drums, one heater and another fractionators, gas oil stripper, reflux drum. So feed is introduced in the fractionator. So feed is introduced in the fractionator, and from where the as a top product, the lighter means a product is coming from the top, which is sent to the reflux drum, and from this reflux drum the gas is coming out, and whatever the liquid it is, the part of the liquid is again sent to the fractionator, and the unstabilized naphtha is coming out as a distillate. and and means from this fractionator, the bottom product again it is heated in a heater. After heating, it is near about 925 degree Fahrenheit. It is sent to the coke drums, and from the coke drums, the lighter one, which are having 820 degree Fahrenheit and having 25 to 30 psig, it is again sent to the fractionator from the bottom, and the heavier one, which is coming out from the coke drum as a coke. Okay, so fresh feed first into the fractionator, then from the fractionator the heavier one goes through the heater to the coke drum, and from the coke drum the heavier one is coming out as a coke and the lighter one again sent to the fractionator. Okay, and from this fractionator we can get the unstabilized naphtha. Unstabilized naphtha. And here also we can see that the gas oil stripper is used in means from where the gas oil is also separated. Gas oil is also separated. So when a coke drum is filled, the heater output is switched to the second drum and the coke is collected. Okay, when a coke drum is filled, the heater output is switched to the second drum and the coke is collected. Usually two coke drums are employed, however four drums are also can be used. So in this delayed cooking, the coke operates typically will increase capacity by operating with shorter cycle times. Okay, so by operating with shorter cycle times, usually design factors will allow a 20% increase in capacity by shortening cooking cycles from 24 to 20 hours. Okay, so it shortening the cooking cycles from 24 to 20 hours and moderate the process, which will allow the cooking cycles as low as 9 to 12 hours. So shorter cycle times usually mean a lower yield of liquid products. Shorter cycle times usually means a lower yield of liquid products because of higher drum and fractionating tower pressure, which may be needed to prevent too high vapor velocities and fractionator, okay, and compressor overloading also. So the main independent operating variables in this delayed cooking, which is the heater outlet temperature, fractionator pressure, and the means the feed carbon residue. Okay, so in this delayed cooking process, heavy feedstock is fed to a fractionator. The bottom of the fractionator are fed to the cooker drums via furnace, where the hot materials 440 to 500 degrees centigrade is held approximately 24 hours, which is delayed at pressure of 2 to 5 bar until it cracks into lighter products. So vapor from the drums are returned to a fractionator where gas naphtha and the gas oils are separated out. Heavier hydrocarbons produced in the fractionator recycled through the furnaces, and after the coke reaches a predetermined level in one drum, the flow is diverted to the another drum to maintain the continuous operation. So means a two drum means there is a we are using the two drum means one is standby. Whenever there is a predetermined level, so one drum the flow is restricted and that flow is diverted to the another drum to maintain the continuous operation. So full drum is steamed and to strip out uncracked hydrocarbons. Full drum is steamed to strip out uncracked hydrocarbons, cooled by water injection and decoked by mechanical or hydraulic methods. So this coke is mechanically removed by an auger rising from the bottom of the drum. Okay, so hydraulic decoking consists of fracturing the coke bed. Hydraulic decoking consists of fracturing of the coke bed, which with high pressure water ejected from a rotating cutter. Okay, so hydraulic decoking consists of fracturing of coke bed with high pressure water ejected from a rotating cutter. So next is the fluid cooking. So fluid cooking is nothing but it is a non-catalytic fluid bed process. Fluid cooking process involves in the non-catalytic fluid bed process where residue is cooked by spraying into a fluidized bed of hot or fine coke particles. So in the fluid cooking, as the name indicates, fluid cooking, so there is a use of fluidized bed of hot and fine coke particles. So it is a non-catalytic fluid bed process where residue is cooked by spraying into a fluidized bed. So means the coke is where the residue is cooked by spraying into fluidized bed of hot and fine coke particles. So higher temperature with shorter contact time than delayed cooking. So it is having higher temperature with shorter contact time and results in increased light and medium hydrocarbons with less cake generation. So as a result of this high temperature short contact time, there is an increase of light and medium hydrocarbons with less cake generation, because there is a higher temperature and shorter contact time. So, and this shorter residence time can yield higher quantities of liquid less coke. So, shorter residence time can yield higher quantities of liquid less coke, but the product have lower value because some amount of coke is present in that product. Okay, so that is why there is a formation of less coke, as we are providing the short residence time, so short reaction time, so it can yield the higher quantities of liquid less coke, but the product are having lower value. And next is the flexi cooking. Flexi cooking is also a continuous process which helps the thermal cracking in a fluidized coke and gasification of the coke produced at 870 degrees centigrade. So this is also a continuous process which helps the thermal cracking in a fluidized bed coke and gasification of the coke produced at 870 degrees centigrade, and this process contains an additional step of gasification. So this process contains an additional step of gasification. Then the temperature, the gas leaving the gasifier is low calorific value fuel gas at 800 to 1500 kilocalorie per meter cube, which is burned in the furnace and power plants. Okay, so gases leaving the gasifier having the lower calorific value fuel gas which is burned in the furnace or power plants, and it can also apply to wide variety of feedstocks. So from the flexi cooking, means there is a wide variety of feedstocks, it can be applied to wide variety of feedstocks. So these are the various cooking process and the process conditions. So as we have discussed the delayed cooking, fluid cooking and the flexi cooking, so delayed cooking have some process conditions which are, it operates in a semi batch mode and having the moderate heating which is 900 to 960 degree Fahrenheit at 90 psig, and the soak drums having 845 to 900 degree Fahrenheit with coke walls. So the soak drum is used, as there is a use of the soaking drum, means the soaking means it also helps to increase the means the residence time or the contact time of the reactions. Soak drums, the which are having 845 to 900 degree Fahrenheit coke walls, and the cooked until drum solid, and the cooked until drum solid, and then the coke which is removed hydraulically, which is 20 to 40% on feed and yield 430 degree Fahrenheit 30%. And the fluid cooking having the process conditions, server heating at means server heating at 10 psig, which are having the temperature 510 to 520 degrees centigrade. Delayed cooking having the temperature 900 to 960 degree Fahrenheit, and inside this delayed cooking unit there is a soaking drum which are having also 845 to 900 degree for 900 degree Fahrenheit. And whenever the fluid cooking are having the temperature also 10 to 520 degree centigrade with 10 psig, and oil contact refractory coke, bed fluidized with steam even heating, high yield of light ends, less coke yield. And flexi cooking, a continuous fluidized bed technology which converts heavy residue to lighter, more valuable product, and the process essentially eliminates the coke production. The process eliminates the coke production, and the temperature is near about 525 degrees centigrade. So these are the comparison of the cooking yields, where we can see there is, means whenever the feed contains Arabian medium of 1050 degree Fahrenheit plus vacuum residue, which are having the degree of API 4.9, and the sulfur content in weight percent 5.4, nitrogen in weight percent 0.26, and the Conradson carbon in weight percent 23.3, nickel having ppm in 32, vanadium in the weight ppm also 86, iron having weight ppm 30. And after this cooking process, which helps means having the which helps to having these properties, which are having the uh, delayed cooking. For the delayed cooking, there is a recycle cut point of 900 degree Fahrenheit, and yields of fresh feed weight percent in gas is 9.3, light naphtha having 2, heavy naphtha 8, gas oil 46.7, uh, gross coke 34, and the total is 100. So for the this is for the delayed cooking, and for the fluid cooking we are having 975 recycle cut point, and for flexi cooking it is also similar like the fluid cooking 975. And we can see means from the fluid cooking and the flexi cooking we are having almost the uh, same product, which is light naphtha, heavy naphtha, gas oils, gross coke. But delayed cooking produces the less amount of gas. Light naphtha, heavy naphtha, means the heavy naphtha is producing is much more than the fluid cooking and the flexi cooking, and the light naphtha also little bit more. But the gas oils also there is less formation than the fluid cooking and the flexi cooking. So net coke formation for the delayed cooking is 34, where the fluid cooking is 22.4 and the flexi cooking is 2.3. So as we provide the more residence time in the cooking process, we got the net coke content for the delayed cooking 34, and for the fluid cooking having the coke content 22.4, and for the flexi cooking it is very less, near about 2.3. Okay, and the liquid, which is C5 content, is for the delayed cooking 56.7, and 60.1, and the 60.1 for the flexi cooking also. Thank you. Means this class is for the cooking process, the thermal cooking, thermal cracking process, and the types of the cooking process, that is the delayed cooking, fluid cooking, flexi cooking, and the types of cokes which is formed during this cooking process, and what are the yields, and means what are the process conditions which is involved in this flexi cooking, fluid cooking, and also in the delayed cooking process. Thank you, students.